Welcome to Straight Talk for Business, where we dive deep into the ever-evolving world of strategy, managing changes and risks. Learn how to stay ahead of the curve and navigate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. From enhancing your leadership style to executing strategies, this is your go-to source for making it happen. No matter your industry or business size, whether you're a seasoned executive, an entrepreneur, or a business professional, we've got you covered. Let's break barriers, challenge conventions, and unlock the secrets together. Tune in and put yourself on the path to success.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome again. This is Dragasa, and we're here for another session of Straight Talk for Business. Today, I would like you to meet Tony Gareri. He's an entrepreneur leading a family business founded more than 35 years ago. Roma Moulding has become one of the world's leading producers of luxury picture frame molding. Tony's on a journey of self-discovery and transformation. With his practicality, his faith, and unwavering belief in limitless possibilities, he empowers others to conquer challenges and unlock their extraordinary potential. Through his presentations and conversations like the one we're about to have today, Tony leaves a lasting mark. He inspires others to break through barriers and create extraordinary lives. He's a visionary leader, and he uses the stage to share insights and inspire others to spearhead thriving businesses. Get ready for a life-changing experience as we talk with my guest today, Tony. Hey, Tony, welcome.
Yeah, doing really well. Happy to be here. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Excited to share some insights for the viewers today.
Great. So let's get started a little bit. Talk a little bit about your legacy. Roma's been around for 35 years, and now you've taken over the family business. How are you building your legacy?
You know, it's a beautiful question to open up with. We're on the brink of our 40th anniversary. So my father started the business in 1984. And so for context, I'm 45. So you can do the arithmetic. I was 6 years old when my dad started the business. And for many children of entrepreneurs, my dad just wanted to have a better life for himself and his family. And that's what he tried to do. And literally this business was a side hustle for him. He had odds and end jobs because he was an immigrant to the country and immigrating from France. And I love the immigrant story of coming to a land and that you don't speak the language, don't have formal education, and putting your head down and working from passion and fueling that passion to what we otherwise have today. We boast about 150 employees in several countries. We employ more Americans than Canadians. We have 3 facilities in the US. So we have a great outfit. As far as I'm concerned, formally, I came into the business in 1999 after graduating from university in business. Clearly, I thought I knew everything until I stepped into the real world. And
that never happens.
I'll tell you that's a reality check, because I would revert to a textbook, but life isn't a textbook.
That's right.
And although it's a good foundation, there's nothing like on the job training. And so, fast forward a bit, I've been leading the company about 12 to 13 years as CEO of the company. My dad still comes in every day. He's, I think he's young. He's 70. This year he'll be 70. I think he's young. I think it's a big number, but truly I think he's young, and certainly young at heart and still full of that same passion. And so while I'm leading the company, I like to believe that we're leading it together. I want to be frank on that, because that wisdom of 40 years, you can't trump that wisdom. And so he's always here for me, and so love him to death. Obviously, he's not only a father, but a partner really in business. And so my legacy, so I came into the business and there was a point in my life I didn't love what I was doing. And my quest is that people come to work and they truly enjoy what they do, meaning we've curated a great group of people who otherwise love what they're doing. And the metaphor that bus metaphor is always very good. The business, I look at the business as a bus, and we're trying to get the right people in the bus, in the right seats, going in the right direction. And I always tell people for the right reason. And that last part is often left out. But if you can get people in their passion, their God-given talent in their role, success certainly will be imminent. And so for me, my legacy is, how do we curate a culture? How do we create a container, a culture where people really thrive at work, versus, the proverbial, it's hump day Wednesday, or TGIF, it's Friday, and I just want to get the heck out of here and live for my weekends. I just think that's a terrible way to live. And I'm here to tell you, it could be the polar opposite, and we're living it in many regards. I don't want to say we're perfect, but certainly in many regards.
That is an absolutely beautiful opening. It's just beautiful. And I completely relate to what you're talking about, because I grew up with parents who are entrepreneurs, immigrants to Canada. I was 10 actually when we came to Canada, and English was my third language. So I totally understand, coming not knowing the language and so on. And you've come such a long way, as you've led the company. And here you are leading a unique business with artisans, in a world where it's all about technology, and 3D printers for this and 3D printers for that. And so tell me, what is it about you and what you bring to the company and about the company that makes you unique, that in this day and age, you can thrive with, I don't want to call it an ancient art, but it is an ancient art.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. Yeah, we're in the artisanal business, and that word is loosely thrown around. It's loosely thrown around. However, we're living and breathing it. So we manufacture what we have here, some picture frames behind me, and we manufacture them at scale. Now, our business is a really cool business because we deal with the three different tiers. We deal with the entry level, mass produced, Costco based, industrial type product. We deal with the middle market, and then we deal with the ultra high end market. And trickled in between all that, or woven through that, is our facilities that boast artisans. So artisanal woodworkers, men or women, who do this craft, and we import our products and manufacture them in a country, Italy, where I think our biggest differentiator is that we manufacture 100% of our products in Italy versus our competition. And what's really cool about that, I think, is we've figured out a way with our manufacturing plants and people to fuse technology, but not to lose the art. And that balance, because some people might think, Tony, with 3D printers coming out or just offshore type products, low end, how are you competing? I think people still care about quality. I believe there's a market, and a growing market, that cares about the sustainability, where it's made, so the origin of the product. Manufacturing in Italy has the highest standards. The EU has the highest standards, and we try to do all the right things. So I think that, coupled with telling the story, I think as a company we tell the story really well, and we fuse that through the fabric of everything we do, and it aligns with our values and our mission of our company. So I believe we're at the pinnacle of our company. I mean, our best days are ahead of us. And I think it's a result of weaving that story properly.
So let's go into that story a little bit more. You, as an individual, a leader, you have a vision for your business. Where does that innovation come from? Where do these ideas for new, different products that are going to defy the odds, where does that come from, Tony?
That's a great question. Coming from an immigrant family, I think the gift I was given is, watching instead of being told, like watching my dad, because it's primarily my dad. My mom is rock star mom for sure, but my dad was the entrepreneur. But even my mom, they always just figured it out because they had to. They say necessity is the mother of all inventions, and not making it work was not an option in our family. And I really just watched my dad overcome challenges and challenges and challenges and always rising to the occasion. And I was always brought up with the notion that if you can dream it, you can do it, but it requires hard work. And I think that 4-letter word today, work, is something that all claim to do, but when called to do it, do the bare minimum. My dad, I wouldn't see him for 3-4 weeks at a time. He would be working all day and all night, and that's just what you did. And my dad always taught me, like, whenever you're setting out to do something, proverbially, I changed it because he uses different terminology, but I often tell my team, we're going in uncharted waters, we're going to explore a new island, and we're going to burn the boats once we get to that island. So not making it work. We're not just going to untie the boats and go again. It's a mindset, really. I believe so.
A commitment. I'm hearing you say there's total commitment to the vision of what the future holds for you. And
I think commitment, perseverance, persistence, hard work, and those are woven. And believe me, this company is not successful just because of me by any stretch. I mean, if you meet the people here at our company, they're phenomenal people, and they believe in what we're doing. And it's a lot of those little things over time that I don't even see that makes our company so great, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. So, we've come through a really tough 3.5 years. A lot of companies are still struggling with working from home, people not wanting to come in, and so on. And of course, that's not much of an option for you, is it? How do you deal with some of these attitudinal changes that people are coming to work with these days? How's that going?
Yeah. So, I was part of different groups during the pandemic, and I'm part of different entrepreneurial groups prior to and then going into, and that was very helpful, right? I think being surrounded by other entrepreneurs and learning from them, what are you doing? How are you doing it? I think surrounding yourself with great people is very important. But to answer your question succinctly, that was all new for us as well. We had spent, an exuberant amount of money trying to outfit our offices so that it's welcoming. And like many, you go to those, buildings down in the city and they're gorgeous, but they're empty. Yeah. And I think what we've done, the best analogy I can give you is, I think many businesses were not ready for the pandemic. And when I say that, it's not that ours was, but we're always kind of game ready, if that makes sense. And prior to the pandemic, we've fostered a culture where people wanted to come to work, genuinely wanted to see each other, genuinely got energy from one another, genuinely, thrived when they were here. And so the analogy I try to do is, or say is, while, Noah never built the ark while it was raining. He built the ark prior, and good luck to you trying to build it and trying to build these policies while the storm is happening. So metaphorically, we didn't really weather a lot of those challenges because people genuinely wanted to come in. Now, I think to say that we were immune to it, it's not true. We had some people gripped with fear, and rightfully so, right? We all didn't know what it was and how we were going to deal with it. I think we reverted back to our core values and both ways. So from the employee standpoint and from the leadership standpoint, and I think we made concessions where concessions were due. And I think we worked with each individual with what their case was. And some people were dealing with, hey, I'd come in, but I'm really scared because I tend to my elderly parents. All right, how do we attend to you? Or, I think we did a basis by basis, but for the lion's share of the humans that make up this beautiful team, they literally all wanted to come back as soon as possible because they missed it. They missed their colleagues. And so was I fortunate about it? Yeah, I think I was. But it was the work we did prior to incubate the container where people actually liked each other and want to work together versus a company that the minute they can get out, shoo, they're gone, right? So I don't know if I answered it succinctly, but
you answered it. You answered it. And one of the things that I've noticed over the last 2-3 years is that entrepreneurs, the ones that had the gusto, and I can't really think of another word for it, that had the gusto, they persevered and they found their way through, and they weren't, concerned about a lot of the stuff that concerns big business. And this is where I really would like to kind of hear your insights on what is it about entrepreneurs that differentiates how they think about dealing with change, because that's really all the pandemic brought upon us, is we now have to do it differently. We have to behave differently, and so on. So what is your experience? What are your thoughts in terms of there's big business and they're affected by change? And then there's entrepreneurs. I mean, you've got 150 people. You're not a mom and pop shop anymore, right? So, but you're still an entrepreneur. What differentiates the mindset, the thinking, what's different with entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think fantastic question. I think, I'm a small to medium-sized business. I mean, when you put us up against Air Canada or Rogers Communication or Walmart, I mean, we're a small French fry, but significant, I always say, nonetheless. I think it boils down to obviously the individual, he or she, however, their mindset is. But I think for myself, as an entrepreneur, you got to be training and you got to be learning and you got to be growing and you got to be alert. And these are, things I'm not teaching any of the viewers today, but, or the listeners, but I think as an entrepreneur, it's our job. See, I look at it from a servant leadership standpoint. I'm always saying, how do I as a leader show up to make people feel safe? How do I show up as a leader to ensure that we have work for these humans? How do we show up that these people have adequate wages so they can pay their mortgages and get their kids in schools and do the fun things they want to do in their life, right? So I think for me, it's a much higher responsibility. And I'm not sure everyone thinks like this, but my first thing is how do we keep everybody really moving forward? And as a leader, you have to be the first one on the battlefield, and you got to be looking over the horizon because you're responsible. I mean, that's the bottom line. I am responsible for 150 lives and then their families and then their kids. That's just the game I'm playing. Now, I don't know if that's upbringing. I don't know if it's my own mindset, but that's what has me thriving in a business, and that burn the boats mentality versus some of these larger corporations, the vast and sheer size of them has them disconnected to some degree from the people. I mean, I know every person at our company. I almost know every one of their last names. I might not pronounce it right. And I should do better, but I try to get so connected with our team because ultimately, if you don't nourish that team, then you have a bunch of tables and chairs and desks and computers that won't come alive ultimately, because the business is just a microcosm of a great group of people coming together who otherwise share similar values and who believe in a mission. And when you can curate that, the more you curate that, I just think that that's what predicates the success, or that's what you could count on. Because new products innovation, I think, is a byproduct of what you built in that container, because it doesn't all come from me. It can't. I mean, I'm one guy. I like to think I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. I'm not that smart.
And so you leave it to your team to make you look so smart.
Well, I tell people all the time, the reason I get to show up here today is because I'm surrounded by really, really remarkable people. And it's not just, it's not just words. Like, if you were to ask my team, they would know that. They would know that. At what level, I don't know, but they would know I care. And culture in Latin, and I often tell people, the word culture in Latin means to care. And it's remarkable what happens when you care as an entrepreneur versus when you don't. The stark polar opposite of caring versus not, and then showing the output. I mean, we're not talking about splitting atoms here. This is pretty fundamental stuff that sometimes we as entrepreneurs lose sight of.
Well put, really well put. I view business and a lot of life through a risk lens. I've spent a lot of my years teaching, training, working with people to recognize what risk is all about. And risk is attached to every strategy you put together, and it's attached to every change that you might have in your business, your company, and so on. And so that's how I view the world most of the time. And if you think about the changes ahead for your business, but I think there's a lot of stuff in the world surrounding us today that is going to be changes that we can't even fathom today. What do you think when you think of your business? But if you think broader, other entrepreneurs, other companies, say up to, let's say, 500 people in a company. Okay, what do you think are some of the biggest risks that change is going to bring about for these companies? Because really anything up to about 1,000 people, you're still considered medium-sized business in Canada anyway.
Yeah, I think this thing called the internet is still infant. I really do. And I think the risk of not having a presence to some degree, or some omni-channel or some partnership, may put you at risk. When we really think of the internet's about 20, let's call it 20, 25 years old. Like we're not talking 50 years. And I think it's only growing. And I think with Web 3.0 and all these other technologies that are coming, I think that's a risk. And the risk of learning that, also the risk of protecting your company, I think there's other risks there through cybersecurity and things of that nature. I think AI is a risk. I think AI, if you're not embracing it today and using it, and even if you're not necessarily using it in your day-to-day activities, but exercising the muscle of AI and practicing, because I think that's going to be game-changing for a lot of businesses. And I think the ones that leverage it, the ones that are creative around figuring out how do we utilize this and how does this help our business, not necessarily hinder our business. Because a lot of people, when the internet came out, thought it was going to kill their business until they found out how to harness the power of it. So I think AI, and you might think this last one's crazy, but I think people, and bringing it right back to people. And I think throughout the ages, and I'm talking about going back hundreds of years, I think what distinguishes the great companies, the successful ones, versus, let's call it proverbially, the unsuccessful companies, are the ones, that invest in their people. Now, what does that mean? Pay them high wages and to some degree, but how are you investing in your leadership team? Because oftentimes people don't leave the company; they leave their manager, or they fire their manager. So I think the retention of talent and quality talent and the growth of that talent and understanding their needs. I think if you lose sight of that, your challenges on AI, internet, all this other stuff pale in comparison. And we see this in sports teams. I use the analogy of sports. Oftentimes it's not, if you rank a team just based on its skill, it's rarely the team that wins. It rarely is. But rather if you list the company, the team for how much skill based on passion and heart and unity, I think our metrics will change going forward. And I know for us, the higher our internal net promoter score, the better we do. And it obviously correlates to the external net promoter, meaning our customers. But if internally people don't love the company, believe in the company, and believe they're doing great work, they can't deliver remarkable experiences to your customers. I don't care how AI, I don't care what artificial intelligence you put, humans will always need human beings.
Agreed. So I'm going to stop with my questions at this point, because I feel like I've been drilling you, quite frankly, and your comments have been remarkable. So what is one message you want to put to our listeners today? What is one thing that you want to say will make all the difference as your closing message?
Yeah. Okay. That's a good one. I think for me, and it's always been, whether I'm delivering a podcast or a keynote speech or talking to my friends, procrastination is a killer out there. And I want to give you a secret of mine. I live my life backwards in many regards. I'm 45 years old. Given that I'm a white male in North America, I have the life expectancy of about 80. So that gives me about 35 Thanksgivings left. And I often equate, my life backwards. So I have 35 Thanksgivings. I have about 420 months left, 1,822 weekends left, and about 300,000 hours left before the lights turn out, given that everything works nice till 80. Now, why do I say that? I think that's the best motivation to get into action, because I think oftentimes we put our heads down and we put our head up and it's like, wow, 6 months are gone. And so I think understanding that we're alive today is such a gift. And I just believe we're bestowed, each of us are bestowed gifts. And I think it's our duty to have them flourish. And waiting and hoping and wishing one day I'll do this, or one day when I retire, I'll do it just saddens me, because I've seen people throughout my career wait, hope, and wish. And then the minute they want to try to do it, they can't. And so my message to whether it's entrepreneurs or anybody who's watching is take action. Life is so precious. And I believe God's bestowed gifts in you, and it's your duty to have them flourish. And who cares if, what people think? I think my message is just, go out and live life, because it's short, it's precious, and just be a good human being as much as you can.
That is one beautiful message to end with. Fabulous. Now, is there a question you wish I had asked you and didn't?
Oh, I think you've been doing great. I think it's, a question. Yeah, that's a good, oh man. Maybe here's a question. I wish you would ask me what my superpower is.
So Tony, tell us, what's your superpower?
Thank you. Thanks for the question. I think my superpower is both my ability to be present in the moment. I think that's very important, and to know time is limited. But I also think I try to do my best, and I live life so intentionally, which is also a gift. But I think surrounding myself with really great people, whether it's family members, which you can't really pick. I always tell people you could pick your friends, you can't pick your family, but you could pick how much time you spend with your family, specifically the ones you don't want to spend time with. but yeah, being intentional and surrounding myself with really great people, because post university, you need to keep learning, and you need to be around people who want, you to be successful, and that you look to them in their own regard and say, wow, how do you do that? Or what did you do to do that? And their willingness to give you that insight and wanting you to win. You surround yourself with great people like that, life becomes so much more sweet and beautiful. Yeah.
True enough. True enough. All right. Tony, it's been an absolute pleasure, and maybe we'll connect again in the future. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.